All right, so we are recording. Yeah. And we're going to pull up, where was it? There it is. I have too many tabs up. Okay. So if you remember, this is the document that we started with.
Mm-hmm.
And we went over all the different expectations. We got really clear on your offer. We set everything up. So I did go through and just check some of this stuff off.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, like the freebies, we put them all in your community, right? Your community is the actual freebie. We did all your branding, colors, and fonts and stuff like that. I will have to just upload them into here, but I can do that later. Freebie and email automation, things like that. Because you're on the $9 a month plan, you actually don't have the automations built into the school community in the same way you would if it was a pro plan, right, for the $99 a month. So because of that, I just went ahead and checked it off. But in the future, when you do upgrade, when you're making good money, all of those things, and you do choose to upgrade, just let us know and we can help you set that up.
Okay.
Again, developing the email marketing strategy, there's no point in us using time to do that right now because you can't set that up anyway, right? So I just went ahead and checked that off for right now. Sorry. You guys can't hear Bluey, can you?
Mm-mm.
Cool. I'm hoping that'll hold her off just for a little bit. Setting up the funnels and stuff like that. I have to update this checklist because with all of the trends and how they've been going, the community itself is the funnel, right? We talked about that. So you don't really need that anymore. We did go ahead and set up your community. We also basically created all of your products as well, right? So you are good to go in terms of the actual setup. And then to kind of just touch base on how this works, because now we're going to go into the marketing and the sales process. But we talked about before, the funnel that we're doing is you're going to promote a freebie. So you're going to promote one of the free resources that are within your school community. By doing that, you're getting them to join your community. And then in there, that's where you're going to nurture them until eventually you're going to upsell them into either a high ticket or a low ticket offer, depending on their price point, right? I am the last person in the world that's going to tell you to have someone take out credit cards, when they can't even pay their electric bill. Like, that's just not, what we're going to do. But you kind of find out, like you talk to them, you find out, first of all, can I even help this person? If I can help this person, awesome. Do they seem like someone that I would actually want to work with? Awesome if they do. If they kind of check both of those boxes, the next one is, hey, here's the price range that I offer. Is that something you're comfortable with? Right. And
what was the thing you were talking about where like you can get paid directly and then the other person, the customer, can do a payment plan?
Yeah, so there's different options for that. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Sure.
But yeah, so like you can do options like that for sure. And then we do so now if we go into the marketing, just to kind of show okay, how do we actually get people into the group now, right? Because ultimately that's what we're doing for the marketing. It's getting people into the group. So one of the things that we're going to want to do is conduct a little bit of market research about your specific offer. I generally recommend in the past using Facebook and using Facebook and Instagram together, right? And using YouTube. I am no longer super bullish on using Facebook anymore, and I'll tell you why. Just in the past couple weeks, right, school launched the $9 a month plan. Oh, excuse me. They've also been running a lot of ads to school, and school already had a decent ecosystem, even though we were in the early adopter phase, right? Since dropping the price and going really hard on ads, they are getting so many new people constantly, which means the growth that we're seeing now in school is going to basically make it a top contender like Facebook, Instagram, things like that. And a lot of the people who are already here already see that, because a lot of people who get on school, they like it more than the typical social media platforms. So all of that to say, some of the trends that I've noticed when working with me and my clients is using Facebook to get people into school works, right? You can get a lot of people in. However, the quality of those people is significantly worse than finding traffic already on school. Why? Because it's a new software, it's a new program, it's a new website. So for someone who's hopping in and they're totally new to school, they have to really get a strong first impression to come back. It's really hard to get those people to come back. And so the strategy that I'm now recommending is finding school groups with your target audience and becoming really immersed in those ones. I got my 4-year-old coming over. So in my perspective, the way that I would coach you on this nowadays is I would say we want to get your YouTube channel up and running. And we also want to find 2 to 3 good school groups to promote in. So how do we identify good, right? We want a large group that is consistently growing by large numbers every month. You also want it very engaged. So if they have the star next to the creator's name, that gives you a good indication. On the school platform, there's the star emoji, which can show up next to a person's name. That means that they are on the first page of discovery within that category. That is a really hard task to accomplish. And to give you some perspective, my group, right, we are almost in the 300s for discovery to have a star that's number 30 or less because 30 people show up on a page at a time. So, and we have I think yesterday we had over 600 activities in the group. So these are the types of numbers you want to be looking at. Like it has to be booming in there to be able to do that. And so those are kind of the things you want to look at for a good group. Like, is it a decent sized group? Is it growing well? And is there a lot of engagement inside of it? Once you figured that out, yes, did you have a question?
How do you know if it's growing large every month?
There's a couple things you can take a look at. So one, if it's really well engaged and there's a decent amount of people in there, odds are it's probably growing well. If it has the star, right, it's on the first page, which means it's going to be growing well because it just has the natural SEO aspect of it, right? People can find it way easier. Sorry, cat's propelling himself off my laptop. So those are things that you want to, that kind of give you a good indication that's probably growing pretty average. The other one is literally just to join groups and kind of keep track of the members. How many members does it have this month? Next month, check in. How many members does it have now, right? So in doing things like that, I've been able to identify certain groups that get 1,000 or 2,000 new members every month, just because I've been tracking how, their member growth. Those are large groups, like 23,000 people in them. They're massive groups, right? But those are the types of things you want to look for. Is it full of my target audience? That's another one, right? Because you could find a great group that's all about chess, but is that going to be worth your time? Because your target audience probably won't be in there. And if they are in there, they may not really care about what you're doing, right? So you want to kind of figure out where's my target audience hanging out and which of those groups is going to be the most lucrative for me to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. Once you've identified a good group, the next thing is the strategy. So the strategy with posting in these groups is, one, having really good copywriting skills. So this is kind of where the nuance of the skill really determines a lot of the success, because I can sit there and tell you now, post in these groups, and this is the types of posts I want you to make. But if you really suck at typing and you are making these posts, they're not going to do anything, right? And so I think this is where some coaching falls short, because they give you all the strategies, they give you all the steps, but they don't teach you how to do it well, right? Or they give you templates that are really general templates that everybody else does and has, and therefore you're not standing out. So I think what I would do is, number one, go into those groups and see what the types of posts that are performing well look like, right? What's the headline? Is it shocking? Is it engaging? Is it a question? I have found using a question in the headline works really well, or a shocking statement. So for instance, I could make a post about how, there's, and this is just a silly example off the top of my head. So a lot of people have this stigma around sending emails. They think it's not effective, or if they send emails too often, it's going to annoy people. I sent an email every single day to my audience back in October of last year. and I had a 40% open rate. And so that's something that you can talk about and be like, hey, I sent emails every single day and half of my audience opened it. Because that's kind of shocking. It's like, well, how did that happen? I would have expected that to not happen, right? Or you can have a contradiction. That those also work pretty well. So it could be something like, you know, when people talk about having a painless birthing experience, to kind of bring it back to what you're doing, which is postpartum doula, right? I cringe at that because I've had 4 kids. I know they're not painless, right? But there's lots of people out there that truly and genuinely say, I've had a painless birth. And you know what? Like, that's great for them, but that is not the reality of 99% of women, right? But if you say something like that, you're either going to attract people that want a painless birth, or you're going to get people like me being like, no freaking way you had a painless birth. Don't believe it, right? So kind of having like those really strong contradictions are, you know, kind of help evoke emotion too. One of the things we want to keep in mind is when we're making content, people are on these platforms to avoid boredom. So if you can make them feel something as far away from boredom as possible, they will appreciate it and they will follow you. And so the more wacky, the more funny, the more intense, emotional, any of those really strong psychological triggers will get people interested in what you're doing. And ultimately, when we're in a big group of thousands of people, we need to find a way to stand out. Right. And so that's how we do it, because most people aren't doing these things. Most people are just posting about, you know, trying to get clients, right? They're just posting about X, Y, and Z. And so the strategy I'm going to say is you want the first post to be an introduction. In this introduction, you are going to mention your business in 4 words or less. And that's not the whole post. The rest of the post is all about you. And I want you to examine the audience in that group and say, what are true things about me that these specific people would appreciate, right? Because at the end of the day, no 2 groups are the same. So I can make a post in my own group full of moms, and it could hit really well because they're all moms. They understand and relate to it strongly. But I can make that same group in a group of entrepreneurs that's mostly men, and it's going to fall flat on dead ears, right? Nobody's going to care. Kind of like the Tickle Mercilessly post that I did recently, right? I thought it was hilarious. Other moms in here thought it was hilarious. I posted in a couple other entrepreneur groups, nothing. And of course, like, why would it? They don't understand. They're not the ones that are tickling their kids mercilessly and I, you know, identify with their kids being their coworkers, right? So these are the types of things that we want to think about when we're in those groups. You know, I did an introduction post in the sisterhood group, right? That Synergy Sisterhood group. That went really well. The introduction post I did in a group called Synthesizers, I did it totally differently. I did not talk about loving fall and loving pumpkin spice and loving, you know, to cozy up in blankets. I didn't emphasize all the fun activities and how much, you know, like the family aspect of things. Instead, I kind of took it from a different angle of like, hey, I love hanging out with my kids and like we play video games together. Also true, right? But just from a perspective of some of these younger dudes that might actually appreciate. And so you got to kind of think about who's the audience that you're actually talking to and how can I identify with them so that there's a connection that's made. So when we're doing the introduction, that's really what the introduction is about, is you're showing them this is who I am as a person, and I'm trying to get as many of you as possible to relate to me on a personal level. So always use emojis as well, and throw in some funny GIFs. It always helps make it stand out. Did you have a question?
Yeah, so I spent last night searching groups. I have a bunch of them that are, my membership is pending. But there's, like, when I looked up like mom groups or holistic moms, blah, 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 like, there's a few that I think are going to be okay. There's holistic health educators. There's a holistic hive or something like that. Nurture and Nourish is a lactation group, moms who rise, and Rise and Thrive moms. So I found a lot of the ones that I was hoping to join, like mom groups. It's like, what stage of pregnancy are you in? Like, you have a newborn? And like, I can't answer the questions truthfully and get into the groups because I'm a provider. I'm not a,
Yeah.
I'm not in that stage. So the ones that I ended up settling with were the free groups that I was able to answer,
Yeah.
so we'll see what happens, but I'm going to work on those introductions after I see my clients this morning. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also helpful, like obviously, the copy review calls with Olga. That's
yeah,
why we have her, right?
yeah,
Is
she's
so that
awesome.
people can get the help. Yeah, exactly. But like so people can get the help with actually writing good posts because that is a skill set. And until
Yeah.
you've mastered that skill set, the organic outreach is not going to help. Like you're not going to get traction with it, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is like some of the nuance of the strategy that just like it does require skill to be good at it, right? But that's why we have the coaching and that's why we have those extra providers that are in the group that will help you with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think that sounds fine. I would say too, like you also want to be careful of not joining a group that is your competition. Not
Right.
because being in there is wrong, right? But because are they going to appreciate you coming in and trying to poach clients, right? Like probably not. So
that was my other question. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm a huge fan of like I join other entrepreneur groups, right? And we'll talk about things. But I'm not really in like besides the business synergy one, I'm not really in like women entrepreneur groups or like mompreneur groups. Like actually I think mine's like the only mompreneur specific one, honestly, that's doing pretty well. And then but like the business synergy one, that one she's creating it as a space to network too. So like there's a different dynamic there, right? It's intended for us to go in and get work out of it. So so I try to look at the intentions of the groups, right? And I do think that the entrepreneur space is a little different because people typically like they're making a space for a lot of people so that we can all get work together, right?
Yeah.
In your specific niche, I agree. I think I would probably steer clear of some of those like pregnancy, like those types of groups and really just target mom groups in general, because there's going to be a mix of women that are, in their, in those stages or even have friends that are in those stages. Right. So I think, and like I said, I mean, if you know people, like if you already have a little bit of a network, I would be tapping into that network as well, even if they're not already on school. But that's because they've built up enough trust with you that if they did come to the school platform, they would probably stay for you, right? So like those are just some things to think about as well.
If anyone has suggestions, pop them in the. Will the comments be available with the recording?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know. I think they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody has any suggestions on like good groups, I'm gonna check out the Synergy Sisters and see what that's all about. But if anyone has any suggestions of where to go, and I think I can, other than the OT aspect, like all the other stuff is like my doula license is international. So like I think Caroline, you're in the UK, correct? So
cool.
So that's helpful.
Yeah, I love it. Yes, and also what we'll do too is, so if anybody does put any groups in the chats, I will copy and paste them and I'll send them to you, Erica. That way we can make sure you get them. I don't want you to lose it when we're done. But anyway, so the first post is going to be an introduction. The next post, I did make a video about this as well, so I don't know if any of you guys have seen the YouTube video, but the second post is going to be to ask a question. The question I recommend is to get insight on what specifically that group is struggling with and your specific demographic, right? So what we want to do is say you're posting in a group of like women who are trying to get fit and like younger women that are trying to get fit. And a lot of them may or may not be in pregnancy stages, or maybe they're postpartum, who knows, right? You can think, okay, if I'm going to be asking this question, how do I speak to my specific audience that I actually want to connect with in this group? Because I don't want to talk to a 20-year-old who's never had a kid and never plans on having a kid, right? But I want to talk to all the moms in the group. So you could sit there and say, if you're a mom, what is the biggest struggle you have with exercising or with fitness. And then you have a poll, and that poll is going to be different answers to it that you can think of. Maybe I can't find the time to squeeze in exercise, right? Or, my kids always interrupt me, or I'm exhausted because I'm up all night with babies, right? Like, you can give them different options that most women or most moms struggle with in fitness. And then the last one, I always do other. So I always put in other, and then in parentheses, like, let us know in the comments, right? And let people vote on it. And then what's cool is you will start to kind of figure out, okay, one, we had a lot of people participate, which means this is a good active group for what I'm trying to do, right? Or I had nobody participate. So is this a group that I should even be spending my time in, right? So that's number one. It kind of helps gauge, because also polls are really low friction. So polls typically get more engagement than just general posts. You typically are going to get more people clicking on it than just general posts. So if you ask a question and nobody says anything, that kind of gives you an indication maybe this group is not the best for me and to get what I want out of it. So that's number one. Number two is people are going to answer it. And that's going to tell you exactly a lot of information you need to speak to these people, right? Because if a lot of them are having a hard time finding time, then that next post we're going to do, which is giving an insight, you can directly speak to the pain point that they just told you they're having, right? So that third post is going to be to give an insight about the pain or about whatever you asked in the previous one. I recommend asking them about pain points, struggles, things like that, right? Because it's emotional too. People, typically don't feel heard, especially women. We have a hard time feeling heard, seen, and understood. And so when you ask questions like that, it gives people the opportunity to make themselves seen, heard, and understood, right? And then the third post is going to say, look, I read and I cared about what you guys said, and here's something to help you out. And then you directly address whatever the most votes got, and if you're getting really savvy, you can hyperlink and be like, hey, a lot of you guys answered in my last post here, hyperlink it to that question post, and you guys said this is what you're struggling with. And so I wanted to provide a little bit of insight and see how I could help. And then you just do a really solid post giving them some advice. Some copywriting tips that we've learned from working with Olga, right, is the first draft, you're probably just going to brain dump a whole bunch of stuff. The second draft, you want to cut out about half of it, right? So brain dump, cut half of it out. You don't need to write nearly as much. In fact, the more information you can provide in the shorter amount of time frame, the stronger of a post it is. Of course, as well, you want good GIFs. You want it spaced out so it's easy to read and easy to skim. That's a huge part too. Some people don't like to read the whole thing. So even if it's spaced out, but it's long, they're not going to read it. But if it's spaced out, it's easy to skim. Okay, here's four quick things about some context. Here's the call to action. My 5 tips are this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easy to see. If they don't even want to get the context, they can just go straight to that, right? And then having a call to action at the end of asking them a question. Every single post you do should have some sort of a call to action on it, because you want people to engage with them and start a conversation. And when people do comment, you comment back with more questions. Ask a ton of questions. If there's anything I want to get home to anybody here, sales is all about asking questions. Because the more you ask questions, the more people talk, the more trust and rapport is built, right? Because as humans, we don't share our souls with just everybody. We share our souls with people that we trust. And so if you can get them to share their souls with you, they will trust you, right? So you want to ask a bunch of questions, and also creates a whole bunch of touch points between you, which for marketing is very helpful. And then ultimately at the end of the day, when we're in these other groups, the goal is to get them to want to join our group. And if you do this well, if you're in there just having conversations with people, it will work. Right.
And how or when do you do that?
Do what?
Introduce them to your group. Obviously, I would guess in a DM.
Yep. So you can do it in a DM. It depends on the group.
Okay.
So some groups are totally cool. If you like, so for instance, the Synergy Sisterhood one, right? They say if you get to a certain level, you've done enough engagement, you can make like a post offering a freebie. Then once you get to like another level, you can offer a paid offer. Like there's certain things that you can, like
Gotcha.
steps you have to take in order to do it. In my group, for instance, if you show up in person to any of these calls live on camera, then you can do a free promotional offer in the group once a week. We do that to avoid
Really?
spam. Yeah. Yes. So
I
like
had no
you're
idea.
more than welcome. Yeah. And I don't really promote it all that often because I don't want people spamming the group, right? Like I'm trying to keep it casual and friendly. But I also want everybody to like learn and grow. So in my perspective, hey, if you've shown up to a call, I've seen you face to face, I know you're a real person, you're not like some weird bot that's trying to like, get someone into like some, scam overseas, then like, cool, let's do this, right? I'm fine
Mhm.
with you posting a free offer. The only thing is it has to be free.
Mhm.
And so I have had people in here that are like, oh, like sign up for my, my program. And like, no, I will delete that and we will have a conversation about it because I don't want this to be that kind of a space,
Mhm.
right? You promote a free offer. If people are interested, they will reach out to you. If you want to sell them in the DMs, fine, right? Like that's part of the sales process. I get it. But I don't want people cold spamming in the post or in the DMs. That is a huge thing. I'm trying to create this as a safe space, right? But like there's a lot of different rules. Every group has different rules. So you
Mhm.
got to go into there and kind of see what the rules are. Do they allow any self-promotion?
Mhm.
If they do, is it on a specific thread that I have to wait for and make sure I'm posting on? Right? Or do they do it at a certain point? So just like kind of learn the group rules.
Yeah.
But bare bones, even without any of that, if you're just posting valuable content and you're getting to know people and you're getting to know the owner of the group and you're getting good with them and you're getting to know the members of the group and you're providing a lot of value and people like you, they will 100% follow you and join your group. I'm willing to bet half of the ladies here join my group because of some sort of valuable post I did in another group, right?
Mhm.
Because they see the value. So these are the types of things that you want to think about is how can I provide value? So this is the launching pad, right? You do an introduction. Yeah, you're going to ask a question. You're going to solve that pain point. Now from there, you've pretty much warmed up the group. They have a pretty good feel for you. So at this point, it's all just value, 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 but also showing a little fun. So the way I like to do it is you want fun, 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 value. And here's why. People don't want to be sold to.
Mhm.
And sometimes value can come off as I'm trying to sell you. And so there's different ways you can do this. You can just do fun, silly engagement posts. I just did a post, I think like yesterday in the Synergy group being like, here's my majestic cat. Show me pictures of your pets. And of course the copy was better than this, right? But I put it out there and it had a ton of engagement. People loved it. It wasn't even specifically for moms, but it was just like, literally I was laying there. My cat came up, like laid like on my face. I took a picture of it and I was like, hey, this is a good idea for a post. And so I did that. And so, we want like my cat's crazy, right? I can identify with pet parents. So we want to think of like, how are all the ways we can connect with others? And how can we make it silly, right? How can we make it fun? Because part of it too is if you can be silly and fun and authentic, then you're giving other people the permission to be that way too. And especially in places that are typically really serious, that's a really powerful thing you can do, right? And so in the entrepreneur space, usually it's very stuffy, right? It's very man and suits and bro hustle BS culture, right? And in my group, I'm like, let's play games, let's have fun, let's hop on calls together, let's talk, let's network, let's, be silly. We're going to joke about how our kids are calling us poopy in the middle of the day, right? Like, let's do whatever we need to do to make this fun. Because at the end of the day, that's how I want to break that barrier for a lot of moms to making money more accessible to them. Because quite honestly, if they're not having fun doing it, right, it's going to be harder for them. On the other angle, right, you're helping women go through pregnancy, postpartum, birth, obviously you're not a birth doula, but the preparation that they're doing in the prenatal and preparing for postpartum, it's going to make their birthing experience better, right? So these are all things that you can think about, is how can I make this silly? What are maybe some funny gifts or some funny, like, how can I make this a fun experience for women? Because even though there is some fun lightheartedness to pregnancy and all of those things, it can also be really serious, right? Like there's a lot of women that are just miserable being pregnant, or they don't have the support that they wish they had, right? I've had 4 kids. I have seen my husband in many different shades of my husband through those 4 kids, right? There were some of those pregnancies he was incredibly supportive, and others where I really had to lean on having friends, right? And so in that situation, a group like that where, hey, I can have fun with you guys and you guys get what I'm going through and my husband's just like not being the kindest right now, that would have been great, right? And so we want to think of it from that angle too, is like sometimes pregnancy is fun and sometimes you don't know what's going on in the family or what other circumstances are going on that's making that pregnancy not that fun, right? And so those are all things that we want to think about too. Is how can we make this as fun as possible for the people there so they feel safe, they feel supported, they feel like they can show up and be themselves, and that they don't feel like they're getting judgment. I know personally from moms groups, they get very cliquey. There's a lot of judgment in them. There's a lot of all like just that drama. I can't stand that. And that's part of why I created like the space that I'm creating, because I'm like, now it's just a place where like, as long as you're not being a jerk or as long as you're not like everybody's welcome. Right. And we're not going to tolerate any of that, BS of like, my way is better than you. Like, you know what, whatever. We're all here to learn and grow and just be ourselves. Why do we have to judge each other? And I think a lot of mom spaces tend to have a lot of cliques, drama, judgment, things like that. So I would lean into the fact that like this is a safe, supportive space that you can come and, hey, if you were disappointed about your kid's gender when you found out, it's okay to talk about that here, right? With my husband had severe gender he was very upset, not to like an abusive way or anything like that, but he was very upset. And that was our 3rd daughter and we didn't have a son. And he was like, what the heck? Are we ever going to have a son? I'm like, I get it, and I was feeling it a little bit too, if I'm being honest, but it wasn't, to me, it was just kind of like, hey, we don't have to buy all this like boy stuff now. So I had it a little bit less, but you want to think about like, what are the typical things that families are facing, right? And how can we support them in this space? And how can we make it fun so we can support them in a way that's helping them come out of their shell, right? And so you want to do fun value, right? And again, this does not mean that value is not sprinkled into that fun. It's just not the main point, right? Okay. And then for an actual pitch. So a lot of people, they misinterpret this and they do something that's called the Pareto principle, which the Pareto principle has got a few different angles to it. But one of the marketing strategies that they talk about is you can give value or entertainment 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time you can pitch. And that's about what's acceptable for people. So if you ever notice on TV, 80% of it is the show, 20% of the time is the commercials, right? It's the same way in advertising, in screens, like everything uses this principle. The problem with this approach is that number, that algorithm, is for established businesses that are not in a growth phase. You are in a growth phase, which means you need to build up a lot of goodwill before you can start cashing in on that goodwill, right? So the recommendation is going to be 90% to 10%, right? So 9 out of 10 times, you're just giving. You're going to give advice. You're going to hop on calls. You're going to answer questions. You're going to give as much free value as you can with no expectation of anything in return. And then that 10%, that 1 out of every 10, You're going to let them know, hey, I can help you with this. Do you want to hop on a call? Right? Or you're going to make a post that's a little bit more direct about it. So these are the types of things that we want to think about, right? And when we look at like your classroom, it kind of reflects there too. Lots of free value. There's maybe 2 or 3 like random parts in there, right? That's like a random page that's, hey, if you need help with this, let's book a call. But the rest of it, all free. And so those are things we want to think about too. You're in a growth phase. You're going to have to give away a lot more for free. And I will also say we are on day 5 of doing these sessions, right? Free for everybody to watch. And I have no problems giving away this much value for free. When I was first coming across with like, oh, should I do this? Many of you guys know, right? I help moms add $5,000 to their monthly income. For some, that's just getting to 5K consistently every month. For some, that's adding 5K to their income, right? And so I help them do that. My own business does above that, but we do, it's nothing super crazy, right? We'll put it that way. The people that I spend time with are much higher level than me, right? Because I'm trying to get to that next level as well. And so when I look at what they're doing, I say, what are these people who are making 50,000, 100,000, 150,000, 200,000 every single month? What are those people doing? And across the board, they're just giving. And so I was like, all right, cool. That's what I'm going to do. So I've started doing this. Within this week, I've probably booked about 3 or 4 sales calls just this week alone, just from doing this. And these are people who reached out to me and said, hey, I saw what you're doing with Erica. That looks really good. It looks exactly like what I need help with. Or like, that was really valuable. I want to like ask a couple questions. Give me 1 second. Sorry. But you want to give away as much as possible, right? And then by doing that, you're creating a really amazing culture in your group. You're creating a really amazing community, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want to create a really amazing culture in your group. And that's how you're going to build an amazing community with a lot of engagement that has people telling others about it, right? I mean, I get referrals into the group all the time. 30% of my clients are always referrals from other clients, right? Because what we do is great. And so if you take that same premise and say, how can I make what I'm doing great, right? It's by providing a ton of free value, giving it all away, and making it fun. And you're just going to build something amazing. It does take time. And that's the other thing I want to preface it. Sometimes people get a little desperate for like the payout. If you do it really well, the payout will happen sooner than you think it will. Okay. So that's kind of my strategy for doing groups with school. And then YouTube, we can hop into one of the group coaching calls that you attend every week. And we will help you look at your YouTube channel, do a little bit of market research, and figure out a strategy for YouTube. Generally speaking, you want to post at least 1 long form content a week. That's about 5 minutes or longer. And you want to, shorts can be helpful for getting seen because shorts have a higher reach. So if you're able to, it's not a top priority item. So if you're too busy and not able to do shorts, do not do them, right? There's 1,001 more important things that you could be doing. But if you have a few extra minutes and you can maybe take your long form and just cut out a few social clips and throw them up in YouTube shorts to get a little extra reach, do it, right? And that's kind of what we'll talk about like for YouTube. The strategy, just so that people are aware, what I typically do for YouTube is go into YouTube, search up some very successful YouTubers that are in your niche and look at what does the thumbnail look like? What does the title look like, right? What kind of videos and posts are they doing? Because there's posts on YouTube too. I don't know if you guys knew that. But what types of things are they doing on YouTube? And literally copy it. And I know that sounds terrible, but in the beginning, you do not have the skills to do this without copying. So take their ideas, say, okay, I like this idea, make it your own, right? Which is like, okay, this person is giving the top 5 things that you should have in your hospital bag. I'm going to do a video about that. It doesn't mean you copy their 5 things, but you take the idea. So, okay, hospital bag, I'm going to write something up. Let me come up with 5 things that I want to do. What does their thumbnail look like? Okay, it's her in her kitchen with like a duffel bag, and it says on it these words. Okay, I'm going to do a picture of me in my kitchen with the duffel bag, and I'm going to, maybe use the same words, right? So you're kind of copying the text. What is the headline? Like, what's the title? Okay, hers says hospital, like what to actually pack in your hospital bag so you don't miss anything. All right, I'm going to do the same thing, right? So like, you want to take what's working and just apply it to your own business. And then by doing that, you're gaining the skills, because over time, after you've done it enough, you're going to be able to identify, this is a good headline, this is a bad headline. And then you can start writing your own. This is a good thumbnail, this is a bad thumbnail. And then you can start creating your own, right? And coming up with your own ideas. But in the beginning, you just don't know. So get it from people who do know, right? So that's kind of my recommendation for like coming up with the YouTube channel. YouTube is a long-term strategy as well. So that's another thing I just want to emphasize. YouTube, the mindset should be, I'm going to start now and be consistent with it with no expectations of any returns past a year. Because YouTube is building your personal brand, right? So that's just something we want to think about as well. And YouTube in itself is a skill, right? The thumbnails is a skill. The titles is a skill. Having good videos is a skill, and it takes time to build those skills. So don't worry so much about YouTube in terms of like getting leads. Think of it as, I'm building skills and I'm building up a content catalog that I can use with my clients. That's another really helpful point to it. I have my YouTube videos. I don't necessarily go in there thinking, oh, I'm building up this big YouTube channel. It's going to monetize me and find me all these clients. Eventually it will, and that's great. But in the meantime, I'm just using it as a place to put my videos. And then I put those videos into the school group to add more value, right? Or if someone asks me a question, sometimes I'll have someone send me a DM and they're like, hey, I'm really struggling with this. And I'm like, oh, I actually made a video about that. Let me get it for you. And I can send it to them, right? So the more of these videos you have, the more content you have that you can actually help people with. So that's also just another really good reason to use YouTube, even though the return on it in terms of like a monetary return won't happen until later. Okay, so we talked about some of the YouTube, how to do some market research. For ads and targeted marketing, I typically recommend do not start out with ads just because it costs money, right? And when we are paying money for something, we want to make sure it's going to have a return on it. And usually in the beginning, you just don't have the cash. So I say, don't do any ads until you're actually in a position where you're getting enough money that now you can start building out successful ad avenues. Did you have a question?
Yeah. On YouTube, is there a place you can put like your link to your school group?
Yes. So in the description, yes. So this is, I apologize because I totally forgot about this. Yes. In the description, the bio of your actual group, you can put the link to your school group that allows you to add links. The description, you want to do it as the first line above every single YouTube video. And so one of the things that we will do, Erica, maybe next week on the coaching call that you attend. Mm-hmm. So for others who are here, we have a paid membership. And we do coaching calls, copy review calls, sales coaching, all this stuff that's in there. So Erica's in there. That's what I'm referencing. On that call, what we'll do is we'll help set up and optimize your YouTube channel for you. So what that will look like is basically we'll go in, we'll help create the banner, we'll help you put the thing in, we'll help you name it, which is just going to be your name anyway. And then we'll help you like set up the back end. So like the keywords, right? Pre-writing the description so it just plugs in. And the nice thing is once you have all that set up, then every day, all you have to do, or when you're posting a video, is you just hit create, upload the video, upload the thumbnail, and it's all already set for you. So then you just upload it. So it makes it so much easier. So we'll make sure we do all of that. Cool. Yeah. Cool. And then storyboard marketing. So stories are incredibly powerful. And so we want to use stories in how we portray ourselves as well as how we portray our services, right? I can sit there and say, hey, I help people, right, create their businesses, optimize their offer, set up all of their systems and school accounts, and give them a solid marketing strategy that helps them grow their business in 2 hours a day. That's great. But I could also sit there and say, hey, I just helped Lucy start making $5K every single month after 2 years of not having a single profit in her business, right? That's a little bit more compelling, because then people are like, wow, that's, first of all, I want that. And second, how the heck did you do that? And in that 2 sentences, I told a story, right? Of Lucy, who's struggling. She paid for all these other coaches, didn't have any success, was never really profitable. And now she's making good money, right? So like, those are things that we want to think about. And the way that these are always formatted is there's a problem. You know, people come to you because they need a problem solved. So what's that problem? They have a problem. Then there's a solution to that problem. And then now there's the now. So the end result of having achieved or accomplished that solution, right? Or applied the solution. So, and we all have a story. And what's important is understanding that, one, we're going to use the same formats when we get testimonials from our clients, right? What was your life before working with me? What, you know, how did you find me? What hesitation did you have with wanting to work with me? Why did you decide to work with me anyway? And what is your life like now? Right? You get testimonials like that, they're incredibly powerful. But we also want to do the same thing with our own story, because that's how people can relate to us. And it also helps build a little bit of credibility, right? If I sit there and say, oh, I can help you make 5K per month, it's like, okay, but can you really? Right? But if I sit there and say, hey, I'm on I'm entering year 7 of entrepreneurship. I've built 2 other businesses and had multiple employees and subcontractors under me. All of a sudden now there's a little bit of credibility there. It's like, oh, you've done this successfully before. You're doing it again, and you're helping other people do the same thing you did, right? It's a different story. It's a totally different perspective. So you want to think of, you've had a child, right? Maybe you didn't have the support you wanted. Maybe, and that's kind of what led you to where you're at now. I don't know, but that's kind of what we're going to flesh out right now. So we want to kind of think of your specific story. What would you say as relative to, and I think part of this too could be, what made you want to be a doula in the first place?
Well, I had a really tough postpartum.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
Without crying?
You can cry. We all cry. It's okay. And you know what? The more vulnerable we are, the more we, like I said earlier, right? When we're vulnerable, we give other people the space to be vulnerable. And I think that's really empowering.
Can I just type it in the chat box?
Yeah, that's totally fine. Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is being recorded, so I don't want to.
No, you're totally fine. And I also encourage you, this is one of the things that I've done recently. So some of you may or may not know, or even know of, but one of the really prominent figures in the school ecosystem is a guy named Goose Dunleavy. He has a group called Goosify. It's actually one of my favorite groups on the platform, besides my own, of course, right? What I love about it, though, is the whole group is geared towards just being completely wacky, to the point of like, everybody just gets to be their authentic selves while building businesses together. And it's a lot of fun in there. And it just gives you the permission to be silly. And one of the things, I actually had the privilege, I won one of his blitzes. I got like in the top 3. And so I got to have a private mastermind coaching session with my partner, right? My blitz partner, because we both partnered up to compete with it, and him. And so we both had an hour in the session. So like, I went first and she went, and I gave him the whole rundown of my business. And part of what I was saying was like, I know there's a lot to offer. I'm actually doing really well. I said, but I'm struggling with how I can get more engagement and create that strong culture in the group. This, by the way, was less than a month ago. And we had a conversation about it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I realized by talking with him that I didn't feel comfortable being vulnerable in my own group because it was public, right? And so I felt I needed to have this certain level of expertise or be kind of put on this pedestal for people to actually spend money with me. And people were spending money with me, but I felt like I had to uphold that in order to have value. And one of the things that I've learned is that when you can be vulnerable, you give other people the permission to be vulnerable and you empower them to do the same thing. And sometimes that means you're in tears, right? Sometimes that means you're saying things that are kind of embarrassing. And, and I started literally the next day, I made posts about like my, periods and like all these things. I'm like, postpartum struggles and all, because my youngest is 1, right? So I started kind of spilling the beans a little bit about some of the things that I was struggling with in my life. And everybody started opening up. And yesterday we had 600 activities in the group. And it's been ever since that single day, we have not gone under like 250 activities per day. So it has definitely grown dramatically. And in fact, most days we're at 500 or higher now. So the way I'm showing up is so different and just so much more free. So okay. So this is all super relatable. And I think it's probably more relatable than you realize. Are you okay with me putting this on the screen for in here? Okay. Okay. So we had the husband having some extreme anxiety issues, which impacted sense of self, stole the joy out of being a new mom. And then he had shoulder surgery when the son was just 3 months old. And so she had to do everything by herself and felt totally tapped out. And that's totally valid, right? I think most of us have experienced that, honestly. Even some of us, I would say generally my husband's pretty supportive, but I mean, I've had pregnancies where I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I've got all these kids. I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. And, I just need you to do this. Right. And the anxiety, I think, comes with it too. I know my husband's a big worrier. So that's a big, it can sometimes take the joy out of things too. And most of the women that I've talked to or moms have some similar angle to how they had their postpartum too. But what I think is beautiful about this is you notice a struggle. You noticed it's probably more common than you think. And you said, I want to be able to show up for women differently so they can have a different experience. And that's really powerful. So I want you to be able to step into that power as well, which is realizing that being able to show up for others in a way that they didn't show up for you is really strong. It's incredibly strong. Okay, I love this too. So I'm going to put this in here. This is awesome, Erica. It's not wanting to go down. So we want to think and basically repackage this, right? We've talked about some of the struggles that we had, and now we can take all of that and package it into basically why you're doing what you're doing and the passion behind why you're doing what you're doing. Because I'll tell you right now, there is nobody more passionate about getting their clients good results than someone who has experienced the same struggle they've experienced. Right? Think about it this way. If you're looking at, so I'll give you an example. If I'm trying to get fit, right? And I am at the moment because I've lost some weight, which is awesome, but I still have like a good 20 pounds to go. So when I was thinking of who am I going to hire as a fitness coach, I did not hire some 20-year-old who's never been out of shape. I hired a fitness coach who was at the depths of all these things and turned it around and was able to get her life in order. Why? Because she knows where I've been, so she can actually help me in a way that this other person can't. Right? And this is another thing actually that I've been learning as well, which is the people that struggle the most with things end up becoming the best at it or the best educators about it, because they actually know what it's like to go through the struggle. So they can actually relate to you, right? So I love it. This is beautiful, Erica. Okay. And there's a lot of healing going on. I can tell, not even in you, but I can see in some of the other people that are sharing their experiences. You know, being vulnerable, it enables everybody to share what they're feeling. So I think this is amazing. And you are a superhero for sharing. So if we take what we were doing, right? So I love this. You want to support new moms and families to provide guidance and insight into all the various struggles of pregnancy and postpartum. Come on, there we go. The solution, you had you said you had some medication that helped with hormones. Would you also say that you were able to find a support system that helped you in ways that your husband couldn't? So Erica, with the solution, we had the medication. And I know part of the struggle that you had was that you weren't getting support at home. Okay, so you did join a mom's group. And then COVID happened and it got shut down. Of course, right? Yeah. Being pregnant during COVID was rough. I remember that too. Okay. So, right, yeah, such a tough time to have a baby. Okay. So tell me how this sounds. I'm going to, this is the one I want. Okay. After having a really tough postpartum, with, or let's say after having my child, I struggled with extreme hormone imbalances and a lack of self and joy because I didn't have an encouraging and supportive group, or let's say an encouraging, encouraging support system throughout my postpartum months, right? And then I'm going to put this down here. And then I found a new medication that helped me balance my hormones and joined a mom's group that helped me rediscover who I was as a new mom. Now, I want to support new moms and families to provide guidance, insight, and emotional support that, well, we're going to say to support, to provide the guidance, insight, and emotional support that I wish I had received during my postpartum journey.
So not sure if this is relevant, but it wasn't a new medication. It was just, there's something called postpartum hypothyroiditis.
Okay.
Which is basically your thyroid goes from like hyper to hypo. Like it swings back and forth, like
Yeah.
daily, moment by moment. So like once I got that figured out, it was like, oh, you just need to, we need to up, because I have hypothyroid anyways, but I was on this like crazy swing. So just getting the right dosage of the medication I was already on.
Gotcha.
And getting the testing done, like, why am I going from like, it was just a crazy swing. So.
Okay. So I would say, I don't want to go too much into it, but I think if we can sum it up, so something like I
figured out the cause of my hormonal
or we
imbalance.
could say I found medication.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that helps?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
That's fine.
Because I feel like that's just a good, like a really good sum up, because we don't want to go too in depth. Like, obviously this is already long enough, right?
Because that's something, like, even if you don't already have thyroid problems, you can go into this thyroid craziness, even if you don't have thyroid problems to begin with. So
yes, I developed, what was it, postpartum thyroid disorder or something like that after my third.
Same thing.
Yeah, that was rough. Even to this day, I still take thyroid supplements because, in fact, I was having headaches, right, since Friday and went all the way to Monday. And then my husband was like, are you taking your supplements? I'm like, I haven't been taking them in a while because I was feeling fine. I started taking the thyroid supplements again, and they're like going away. So now I'm like, is that what it was? Do I need to keep? It's always something, right? But anyway.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you feel? Like, when I read this feels really powerful to me, right? Because this is like somebody who's been in the trenches and they get it. And so I love this. So after having my child, I struggled with extreme hormone imbalances and a lack of self and joy because I didn't have a encouraging support system throughout my postpartum months. I found medication that helped me balance my hormones and joined a mom's group that helped me rediscover who I was as a new mom. Now I want to support new moms and families to provide the guidance, insight, and emotional support that I wish I had received during my postpartum journey.
Yeah.
I love it. So, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I know it's not easy. You know what I mean? It's not easy, but it is so important and it is such good work. And when you can be vulnerable, it gets easier the more you do it. And the more you do it, the more people come out to support you and the more people show up and the more people that are just, because they can identify, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like the stories you're telling, I hate to say it, but they're not that unique. You know what I mean? Everybody, a lot of people go through stuff like that.
I don't have a problem with like being vulnerable and like speaking it, but it's just the emotion behind it.
Yeah.
And I'm a super ugly crier, so.
Oh no, it's beautiful. There's no such thing as an ugly crier. All tears are gorgeous. Oh. Aw. So the other thing I recommend is batch creation and cross-platform creating, right? So what I mean by that is if you can sit down and do everything all at once, it makes it way easier to have good, efficient work and make your day-to-day easier. So in practicality, what does that look like? Maybe in the beginning, until you're really good and efficient at copywriting, maybe you sit down once a week and write out all of your posts for the week, right? And come up with a whole bunch of different posts. You edit them, you make them nice and polished, and you just spend 2 to 3 hours writing all the posts for the upcoming week, right? So that's one way you can do it. The other one, if you're going to do shorts in a YouTube video, maybe you do the one YouTube video, or maybe once a month, you sit down and film 4 or 5 YouTube videos. You edit 4 or 5 YouTube videos, make the thumbnails, you do all of that, and then you set it up and schedule it to run on YouTube so that you have them running for the next 4 weeks. And in 3 weeks, you're going to film the next sessions, the next 4. And what that does, it allows things to be more consistent, especially in the beginning when you're just starting out and you're kind of struggling with like, am I doing this well? Am I, how do I stay consistent with everything? Just batch it, right? So once a week, you're going to make all your posts for the week. Once a month, make all your videos for the month, right? What's really great about this is once you've done all of that, what do you actually have to do on a day-to-day basis?
just interact with the community.
Exactly. And
So
so this is, yep.
On school and on YouTube, you can schedule your posts like you can schedule on
So
Facebook?
school you cannot schedule
Oh,
your posts, but on YouTube you can.
oh,
So on YouTube you can schedule them to be posted at a specific day and time.
okay.
On school you cannot. So what I recommend and what I've been doing is you just make a Google Doc.
Yep.
Type them all up before. And then what I do is just like in the morning you hop in. First thing I do is copy and paste it.
Yep.
Right? So copy and paste it, take it off of the Google Doc. There's no reason for it to be there anymore. Put it into the group. And then throughout the day, all you're doing is following up in conversations with people who are DMing you back, right? You're engaging in the different groups. You're, engaging in the comments when people comment on your posts. You're having conversations with them in the comments, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're really just having conversations because there's two components to making money online. One is the marketing, which is getting seen, getting people to know who you are. And that's being done when you're posting in other groups. People are seeing you, they're getting to know who you are, they get curious, they check out your group, they join. The other one is having conversations that lead to sales, right? And so in your own group, you're having those conversations and trying to essentially get them to book a sales call. Mm-hmm. If they're not a good fit for you, don't waste your time on a sales call and don't waste their time on a sales call, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no point in that. So what you're going to do is have conversations with them, flush out like, okay, does this feel like someone I want to work with? Does it feel like someone I can help? Do they need help with something that I can actually do, right? I get a lot of people in my group that are like e-commerce people. I'm not going to sit on a call with them. Why? Because I don't do e-commerce. So why would I waste their time with that? So, but they're welcome to be in the group and communicate. So like these are the types of things you want to think about is how can I just have conversations with people, whether it's in the DMs, whether it's in the group. And the flow we're going to do is you post in other groups to get seen, to get people to join your group. Once they join your group, you post things and have conversations to get people interested in what you're doing so that you can get them into the DMs. In the DMs is where you're fleshing out all of their goals, their hopes, their dreams, their struggles. Can I actually help this person? If I can, let's hop on a call. Right.
Can I ask a question about the posting? So if I join these other groups, I do my introduction. Do I say anything about having a school group of my own? Like how do you get people from a different group to join your group?
So great question. A lot of them will get curious, right? So that's number one. They can just check on click on your profile and your school group will show up under your profile. So
does it now, even though I'm,
yep.
I don't know.
Yeah. So if somebody goes in and they check on your profile, so I can show you. If we go into, so I'm just going to share this tab. If I type in Erica, I don't know why. I almost typed in Elizabeth. I was like, your name's not Elizabeth. That's not right. Okay, Erica. So we go in here. See how it shows owned by Erica?
Oh.
Okay. And it's right here. So if they click on your name, this is going to show up. They will see how active you've been on school.
Oh, gotcha.
They will see any groups that you own, and then they will see the memberships that you're part of.
Okay.
And then they can even, if they have overlapping, right? So like if there's groups that you're both in, they can click on it and see what contributions you've done to that group.
Okay.
There's also down here, there's different things that you can put up in terms of links and stuff like that. So this is fine. I would also, when you have your YouTube video, have a YouTube link up here too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
But that's how they'll know. So like they'll go in, they'll be curious about who you are, they'll check it out, and then they'll be like, oh, she's got a group, like this is applicable to me, right? Or they may literally just DM you. I've had tons of people that like when I post in these other groups, they just send me a DM or they're like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. Like I'd love to connect. When people say that, like I'd love to connect, I'd love to get to know you more, I'd love to all these things, I always respond with do you mind if I send you a DM? Right? Because I don't want to just like cold DM them. They could just be being polite, right? But if they're genuine about wanting to connect, like, do you mind if I send you a DM? And then a lot of them will say, yeah, like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Go ahead. So then I send them a DM and that's where I'll have a conversation like, oh my gosh, it's so great to meet you. Like, I just want to let you know, I also have this free group over here that you may be interested just based on the conversation we've been having. But, and then you can just finish keep going with the conversation. right? And then that way it's super casual. Most of the time they're going to join. And so that's basically the strategy, is you just become so well known. And even Olga's been doing this, right? She was like, she does not promote her school community at all. And she's at over almost, I think she's at almost 150 now. Just from posting in different groups, people got curious about who she was because she was gaining so much traction in all these groups. And so they got curious. They clicked on her page, saw her group, and then joined it. Right? And she doesn't even use her. She doesn't even post in her group. She's like, I don't even use my group for anything. It's just kind of there. And in fact, she just uses it to take payment. So like if you pay her, she'll like change the price on it and make you go and like rejoin the group to like, you know, pay and everything. That's literally all she uses the group for. So it's funny that like people just join it regularly because they're curious about what she's doing, but like there's nothing in there. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's the whole marketing strategy. And then again, like I said, just really leaning hard into your story and how you can relate with others. So this is, what was that? All right. I just need you to give me like another 15 minutes, babe. Okay. In a few minutes. Thank you. So this is kind of like a pop quiz where we would just kind of go back over all the different things that we talked about. So we will do this really quickly. And then the last bit is sales, but we've already pretty much touched on a lot of it. So your RMS statement is the statement we did up here, which is I help pregnant postpartum women feel empowered with a healthy and happy birthing experience without the stress and overwhelm of having to juggle it all on your own. So we're going to plug that in here. Cool. The 4 things that make money, yours is a relationship offer, right? Because you're basically saying, hey, you could have a better relationship with your family by having, you know, with your children, with your baby, with yourself, all of those things by having a strong and empowered birthing experience. Your freebie is your school community. The platforms you're going to be focusing on is going to be school groups and YouTube. Monthly marketing goal is going to be create, edit, and post 4 YouTube videos per month, right? And then daily marketing is going to be posting in your group, posting in other groups, having conversations, booking, and taking calls.
Can I add Facebook groups to the focus on marketing for the first little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So like so in here, like the daily marketing tasks?
No, just the platforms you'll be focusing on for marketing. I'm going to try and post in the Holistic Mamas group today once I have a chance to sit down. I don't know if that would be a good idea or what, but
yeah. And like I said, so posting to Facebook groups, I have found you are going to get people that are going to join. They're just not going to be sticky, right? Meaning they'll join, but they may not hang out in the group. They may not really engage all that much, things like that, because it's a new platform. I do think there is a strategy to that, right? Because you're getting more numbers in your group, which makes it look better when people are finding you, you know, more organically. So I think that's totally fine. I would just, again, I would not make that the main focus. If you're sitting there and saying, I only have an hour today to work on my business, 100% use that hour for school, right?
Okay.
But if you're saying, oh, like I've done all my school posts, things are going really well, like I've already got my YouTube videos up and scheduled, and I have like a random hour, then sure, like, you know, go around and share a little bit on Facebook. Absolutely. Okay, so we've gotten through all of that. Here's just some stuff that, again, if you have like random time and you're like, hey, I've done everything that I need to do, you can generate like more freebies, create more content ideas, right? Reviewing resources. You know, you can kind of go through some of this stuff to kind of help figure out like how you're going to be a little bit more successful. All of these things are completely optional though. They're not necessary for success. Part of the sales, most of this is mindset. And I know you've already been on a lot of the sales calls that we've done with Corbin. So we'll kind of breeze through this because I know you only have like another 14 minutes anyway. But the strategy we're going to do with the sales is, again, you're having conversations with people. In the DMs, you're booking appointments. So you want to book calls. The strategy I have used, which I think works really well, is having people hop onto an onboarding call. So what I've been offering is, hey, like I will hop onto an onboarding call with you. It's only 15 minutes. And with that onboarding call, you know, we will go over whatever struggles you're having, and I will see if I can help you. And the way that I've been structuring those calls is we hop on, we kind of get to know each other a little bit. They tell me about their business. They tell me about what they're doing, what they're struggling with. I will give them a little bit of insight, show them the community a little bit more. And then I'll let them know, like, is it helpful at this point to see if I can help you further, like more in a one-on-one setting?
Mhm.
Almost every single time they'll say yes, right? Or you'll get the occasional person that's like, well, I would love that, but I don't have the money. In which case, like, fine, I'm not going to waste anybody's time hopping onto a call to try to sell you on something if you don't have the money, right? So in that case, I will just give them as much free stuff as I can in the group. Like, I'll say, okay, well, like, I recommend going here, checking this out, and those types of things. But if they do want to actually see what it is that I offer, the next follow-up question, I say, okay, great. The price range that I have available, depending on the level of support you want, is between this and this. Is that a range that you're comfortable with?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to say either yes or no. Most of them say yes. And so once they say yes, okay, great. Like, let's go ahead and book a longer call where I will get more in depth about what it is you're looking for and how I can help you. And we'll kind of go over all the different programs, what's inside of them. And, we can come up with like the best program for you, right? And then you hop on that longer call, you do the actual sales call, which, like I said, I'm going to kind of divert that one to the calls with Corbin because he's incredible. And everybody's sales calls are going to be a little different, right? So you're going to do that. And then obviously the ideal situation is you close on the call, they sign contract, they make payment, you book the first session, all of those things. I always recommend, if they say yes, do not send everything afterwards, get it all done on the call. The last thing you want to do is get them off the call and you didn't take payment, you didn't sign contract, and now you're waiting for them to do it. That is the worst feeling in the world. It feels a little awkward the first few times. You're like, okay, let me send you over the contract. And then you send it over and it's just silent because they're looking at a contract, right? But that's fine. Like, it happens. It's normal. It feels kind of awkward the first few times you do it, but you get used to it. And then usually, like, I use that time to just kind of explain the contract. So I'll send it over. I'll kind of start to kind of skim over, like, this clause talks about this talks about this, just so that they kind of get a gist of it too. So that's essentially how we do the whole sales process. Overcoming imposter syndrome. I think a lot of times people tend to feel like they aren't an expert or they don't really have the value that they think that they want, that people would spend money on. But the actual reality is, can you deliver on your promise? If the answer is yes, then you should not have any imposter syndrome because you're literally just doing what you've told them you're going to do. So I think a lot of times we kind of evaluate, like, we put money with value and we sit there and say, well, is this something that, like, someone would pay me this much money for? And we come at it from our own scarcity mindset, right? When we have to think of, I'm not trying to sell myself, I'm trying to sell this person. And can I actually provide them value? Can I do what I promise? Can I actually help this person? And if they've already said they could afford the price range before, so why am I feeling weird about it, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely, like, I think a lot of times we overthink it, and that mindset work is going to be something that I encourage anybody who's listening to work on, which is just realizing that you are worth the money that you're getting. And if you're not getting enough yeses, right, you also need to think about the fact that, like, rejection in sales is hard. And as women, we're not programmed to be rejected very often, right? So it's even a little bit more challenging for women because it's, like, hard to hear no. That being said, the average close rate is like 30%. So if you're a decent salesperson and you're closing 30% of the people you talk to, that's good. Like, that's you're priced appropriately, you're all of those things, right? So I wouldn't worry about it. Setting proper expectations on the call. We also kind of talked a little bit about making sure that when you're sending them DMs, when you're going through that process, you're setting those proper expectations. This is the price range we have, right? Don't get on a call with someone who can't afford the minimum price range. That makes zero sense, right? So, like, you want to make sure you're setting up those proper expectations ahead of time so they know what to expect. People do not like to be confused, and they don't like to be, caught off guard. You want to make sure you're listening. Ask as many questions as possible. The best salespeople say the least. So you listen, ask a bunch of questions, get them to talk about themselves, answer, if they have questions, answer it, but then follow it up with another question. You should constantly be asking questions. Again, disqualify the call before we start. So if you haven't noticed, this is super important because I'm pretty sure this is the third time I'm iterating it. Make sure they can afford it. Make sure they want it. Make sure you can actually help them before you hop on a call with them. Otherwise, the call is useless. When you're on the calls with Corbin, we will help you write your script. We're going to help you figure out how to frame the call for the introduction, how to ask good questions, how to present your solution, how to overcome any objections, and then how to essentially actually onboard all of them and have them sign up with the program on the actual call so that you're not trying to take payments later or trying to follow any people up. It sounds like I wrapped all of that up pretty quickly because sales is actually not that hard, right? We get into our head a lot of the time, but the biggest things that you want to remember is make sure the people who show up on your call are qualified. If they're qualified, frame the call so you take authority from the start. So the way that these calls normally go, that's how I start every single one of my sales calls. Why? Because one, it's giving them expectations. People like expectations, right? I want to know what to expect. Two, it's creating a sense of authority, right? I've done this before, which I have, right? And even if you haven't done it before, it makes it sound like you've done it before. So the way these calls normally work is we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. We're going to talk a little bit about X, Y, and Z. And then at the end, if I think I can help you, we'll talk about what that looks like. Sound good? They're going to say yes. Awesome. So, and you start off with the first question. And I always start a little vague. So for me, it's tell me a little bit about your, your business that you're running or that you're trying to grow. For you, it may say something like, how far along are you? Right? Do you what type of birthing environment are you trying to set up for yourself? Are you planning on birthing in a hospital, a birthing center, home birth? What does that look like? Right? And just ask them a whole bunch of questions surrounding what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then once you get a really good understanding of what they're doing, you want to ask them, awesome, I'm pretty sure I can help you at this point. Would it be helpful to go over how I can do that? And they're saying yes. Now, the thing is, we want to pitch them on the parts of the program that they actually want. Right. So now you just got all the data. You just had them tell you, this is what I want. This is what I'm struggling with. This is the type of birthing experience I'm trying to get. These are my past birthing experiences. This is what went wrong with them. This is what I liked about them. Right. This is my hopes and fears and frustrations for this one. And you can lean into all that. Right? So you can sit there and say, hey, I know your past birth didn't quite go the way you wanted. You had a 12 pound, 5-ounce baby in your living room, and that kind of sucked. But, with the right support, we can help you overcome the fear you're now having with your current birth by doing some different meditations and exercises and mindfulness exercises. And we can help you prepare through dietitian to try to see the best we can with making sure you don't have such a big baby this time. And we'll work on doing some red raspberry leaf tea and some other things that we can do. So maybe instead of going to 42 weeks pregnant, we can get you to go a little earlier. Right? These are actual conversations I've had because my third was a 12 pound, 5-ounce baby. And I was terrified with my fourth. But these are the types of things, right? So you're sitting there and saying, okay, what's the fears? What's the frustrations? What are their hopes and dreams for this birth? And how can I help them see that what I'm doing can help them get there. Right. And then you do all of that. And then and then you'd be like, sounds awesome, right? Should we get started? And they're going to be like, well, wait a second. How much is this going to cost? And then you say, oh, great question. This is the price. And then you shut up because the first person who speaks loses. Right. So you give them the price and then they're going to think about it. And here's a tidbit that I think is really important. When you're trying to think about something, how does it feel when people start talking? It's frustrating, right? It's like, shut up, I'm trying to think about this. So they're thinking about it. So if they haven't said anything yet, don't interrupt them. They're thinking, right? It's really weird because you're on the edge of your seat. Is this person going to buy? But they're thinking about it because they're thinking, is it worth it? And if they're already sold at that point, they're also thinking, can I afford it? Do I need to pay off this credit card first? Can I borrow money from this person? Can maybe I do a crowdfunding thing to pay for this? Right? They're thinking all these different things. So when you're presenting your offer, you're giving them the price and you're going to shut up and you're going to let them think and figure it out because they will figure it out if they want it bad enough, right? At the end of that, Once they've figured it out, they're going to let you know. What are you doing? You got chocolate all over your face. You get into chocolate? Okay. So once they figured it out, then you can handle any objections they might have, right? So like, oh, well, like, how involved is my husband? Do you come to our house? Do you do this and that? Right? Like they're going to have questions. They're going to have objections. Well, like I can only put down, I don't have that much money. I don't know if I can get it, but I have this much money. Maybe you're open to a payment plan, right? Like those are the types of things that you're just going to have a conversation.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, all sales is you get a really good scope of what this person wants, needs, and all of those things. Ask all the questions. You show them how you can help them get what they want. You pitch them the price, and then you just have a conversation about how can we make this work.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all it is. And so I think a lot of times we think of sales as like this big persuasive, manipulative thing, when really it's just you're asking questions to see if you can help them. You tell them how you can help them. And then you have a conversation to see how we can make this work for everybody. It's a lot more simple than I think we think about, right?
Yeah.
I know you're getting close to your 9:30 though. We pretty much finished up with sales. So I think we're pretty much done here. Did you have any questions you had for me at this point?
I guess maybe we can go over it in a coaching call, but trying to figure out like the virtual offer. So like the in-person offer, I don't know, trying to figure out what. Yeah. I'll have to talk about that another time.
Yeah. So I remember we did build that out with the offers.
Yep.
We had like what the virtual package would look like and then the in-person package.
Yep.
So are you trying to think of like, if you get people on a sales call, which one are you pitching them?
Well, obviously, like I'm not going to pitch in person if they live in, Texas, but.
Right. Yeah.
Hold on just 1 second.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, I really do have to run. It's 25 minutes to my appointment. So
no worries, no worries. Yeah, so the rest of this we'll be doing in those different coaching calls because you're in the paid membership. So we'll definitely have you in there and we'll keep supporting you. But in terms of the actual build out of your program, everything's done, right? So we built out your program, we built out your school community, you have your marketing strategy, you have your sales strategy. So how do you feel? And then we'll let you go.
I feel really excited, but scared, and also like very grateful for all of your time and guidance, because this is, I would never be able to do this on my own. I don't have the skills, and I don't have so I'm really looking forward to like moving forward with everything. And just finding the time to do the videos is going to be crucial. But
yeah,
and the space, we don't really have a blank wall in our house for like a nice video. So
that's okay. You don't need, like, I film videos like this with my crazy kitchen that's always a mess and the toys on the floor and just, right. You're lucky that your audience is moms. They don't care. I promise you.
But yeah, I will be, I'll be on the calls next week. I don't have any appointments next week, so I'm good.
Awesome.
And I'll look forward to seeing you in October for the event.
Yay! Super excited. Did you get your ticket?
I have to, that's on my to-do list today.
Okay. I love it. Super psyched.
Just sit down and just do it.
Yes, actually do it. I love it. Awesome. Right. Well, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
And
you
then
too.
I will leave this open. If Brooke, do you have any questions? I don't know if you're still there listening in. Yeah. Bye, Erica. We'll stop presenting. Brooke, I'll give you a couple minutes. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and stop the recording and conclude this call. Okay. So my thoughts are is you're probably either not here or maybe you stepped away or some. Oh, are you there?
Can you hear
Hi.
me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi.
Okay, sorry. I am in the middle of pizza and breakfast, but I did have a question.
Sorry.
You know, you giving all this free content
Mhm.
away, do you ever worry about freebie takers? Because I know a lot of people have like that's been an issue to them of like that's all they get is freebie takers. You know?
Yeah. So I will say that this week alone, just in having recorded these things, I have had about 3 or 4 actual sales calls, like people booking sales calls because of the value we're doing in this. So one of the things I always teach as well is people, especially in today's day and age, like you can get all of this information in YouTube already, right? Like everything that I'm doing, none of this is super novel or new. You can get this information. But when it comes to what I do is I help you do it together, right? We sit down, we do everything together. Sorry, give me one. Sorry about that. So we do everything together. So what people pay for in today's day and age is they pay for fast, right? Is it faster to get it done with someone else? Do I get faster results? And ease, right? Is it easier? Because yes, I could watch these videos, but I still got to figure it all out. So
in the roadmap of putting it all together.
Right, exactly. I mean, and theoretically, like they could just watch every single one of these videos. This is 10 hours of content that we've just filmed this week. So, I mean, they could watch all 10 hours and just do it step by step, and that's totally fine, right? And here's the thing. If somebody does that, and they literally don't have the ability to pay and get help, I'm all for that, right? Like, hey, go in, get it, up level your life and improve your business. And maybe you'll tell people about me, right? So like worst case scenario, I'm still helping people and they may tell people about me. It's like the best time they've ever spent, right? The other side of that too is again, people buy ease and they buy speed. So if they're looking at all this and they're saying this is awesome, but I don't have the time to watch 10 hours of footage and then figure out how to do this, they're going to reach out, right? Because they've now shown and I've demonstrated that I'm capable of doing these things. Does that make sense?
Yes. I think another thing that I kind of struggle with, like, and I guess this is more of like a mindset, like scarcity thing, is like, there's other people doing this that are obviously more qualified. Like, obviously, I'm sitting here watching Erica put this together, and I'm like, she has all these certifications and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't have this stuff, you know? Like, so I guess that's kind of a thing for me. Like, as I'm sitting here thinking about my membership, and I'm like, why would people buy from me? Like, you know, like,
yeah.
So is that something that you ever, you know, deal with yourself as being, you know, a business coach? Because there are, you know, a bunch of business coaches.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, more qualified or whatever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there's 1,001 business coaches out there, right, that make more money than I do. And that's fine, right? Because they're doing a different thing. And so one of the things that I have noticed too is a lot of my clients, they come from programs from higher, more established business coaches. Why? Because that coach has a program that's so saturated that that person joins and becomes a number, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I think is helpful for the approach that I do is I work one-on-one with you. And so we work one-on-one together, and we do that pretty much up until they start making 5K per month. So, so there's a little bit of a guarantee in there, which I think is helpful. 2, people, they see the testimonials of the people who work with me. That's another thing where I think a lot of the clients that I have become raving fans. They're not just like people that kind of come in, spend money, and then leave. It's like they come in, they spend money, and then like we become best friends, right? So I think that's a huge part of it too, which is personality. It's how can you stand out from the competition? There's always going to be someone more competent than you. And this is a great example. So we all think of like, he's a little bro hustle culture, but Alex Hermosi, he's brilliant. I love all of his content. right?
I think I've heard that name.
Yeah, so he is huge in the entrepreneur influencer space, but he does have a very bro hustle vibe to him.
Yeah.
But he is brilliant. Like, guy is incredibly smart. His company does acquisitions. So they buy multi-million-dollar companies. They're on their way to making $1 billion. That's their mission right now, is to like acquire, they're trying to become billionaires, him and his wife. And they acquire million-dollar companies and they scale them up to multi-million, tens of millions, hundreds of million-dollar companies, right? That's their entire strategy. That's what they're doing. Even someone that's got hundreds of millions of dollars worth of net worth, there's bigger fish than them out there in the acquisition space.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But people come to them because they have such a unique angle, right? He shows up in a plaid shirt, you know?
Yeah. Providing like that unique angle and what makes you different in the market. I think that's a lot of it.
Yes.
But it is so hard not to fall into that trap of like, why would someone buy from me? Like, there's so many other people, so many more qualified. I've always heard the example of like, you know, there's a million doctors out there and they all have patients.
Yeah.
I've always heard that. It's just hard not to fall in that mindset. Like, it's a scarcity mindset, I guess.
So it's a little bit of a scarcity mindset and a lack of confidence because you haven't done it yet, right? Which is normal. Like, if I'm looking at a mountain, I'm not going to feel super confident about being able to climb it because I've never climbed a mountain before, right? But if I've done it a few times, I'm not going to be going into it like, oh my gosh, I can't climb that mountain. I'm going to be going into it like, I know I can because I've done it before. So I think a lot of it, I'm a huge believer of confidence is not a mindset we can just inhabit. It's a byproduct of accomplishment. And so in the beginning, so like in the beginning, you're not going to have confidence and that's okay, right? So one of the strategies we say for someone who's just starting out, maybe you haven't had a client before or something like that, is to get beta clients. And there's a couple of reasons why that's helpful. Is one, you always get a testimonial. So if you're going to do a beta client, 100% get a testimonial. And you can even do it on the call, which I recommend so that you're not chasing people for testimonials later, right? But you get testimonials. So you get video testimonials of them explaining like how great it was to work with you, all the benefits that they got, all of those things. If people don't really have a whole lot of great things to say about you, you're probably not that good, right?
Yeah.
And that's just the honest truth. And so I think, here's the thing. I'm not ever going to tell someone to be confident about not being able to deliver results, right? So the number one focus should be getting really good at what you do. Yeah. And you can do that by working with beta clients and just getting experience after experience after experience, right? And so as a business coach, I started off because I had multiple businesses, but I had never coached someone on how to do a business, right? So I learned the skills to coach and I did beta clients. I was like, okay, I got people in for free, worked with them, saw this is what worked, this is what didn't work, this is where it kind of felt a little weird, right? Tweaked my program to make it better. Started charging, but started charging really low. So I started making a little bit of money. Did that a couple times, kept improving. Okay, now I feel like my program is good. They're getting set up with a good thing, but the ongoing support needs help. How can I help them there? What are the things that they're still struggling with? For me, I noticed it was copywriting. They needed to know how to make good content, and they needed to know how to close people on a sales call. So I got experts in those fields to come in and do that with my clients, right? So that was part of like when I was thinking of how can I get, so now like I have a program that's $3,000 and honestly, it's a no-brainer because if I can get you making $5,000 per month in 100 days and it costs you $3,000 to do that, you know what I mean? And I'm confident in being able to do that because we have a team and a system and I've had enough success stories now that, hey, the confidence is now there, right? I don't care what these other business coaches are doing because they're not me and they're not doing what I'm doing and they're not building from where I'm building, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's you have to kind of think of, okay, where am I at in my journey? Number one is I need to have a product that actually gets good results. I need to have testimonials that showcase that I can get those good results. And then I need to build such a strong culture around what I'm doing that they want other people to have those same results as them.
Yes.
And once you start to build up those steps, and to be perfectly transparent, I'm on that third step now, right? So I tweaked, I've been doing the coaching for, a little over a year now. I've tweaked my business. I have a great product now. I get people really good results and they tell their friends about it. And now I'm building a really strong culture in that free group so that the free group can grow and expand, and we can create literally a movement across the world to help moms be able to reclaim their lives and make money while raising their kids. Right? So they're totally different missions, and they're totally different goals, and they're different levels in business. And the more you do it, the more you realize that there is absolutely no shame in wherever you're at in that journey, as long as you're taking the next right step. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I think like that mindset issue, it's tough. It really is tough. But keep working with beta clients until you're confident that you can do it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you heard of Stu McLaren.
I've heard of him. Yes.
His membership, saying like he's the big in memberships.
Yeah.
So I was kind of following his like membership idea, and where he's like, this is how you start your founding membership, and it's like get your founding members, and they're like your beta clients, and that's how you start with them. So I guess that's what I'm trying to follow. So I guess just getting started with that is really where I'm stuck at right now. Trying to figure out what to offer in the membership compared to the free group. So,
yeah, absolutely. So the way I always look at it is free. You want all the free value in there, right? The way I'm positioning what I'm doing is I want someone to be able to go into my free group and be able to get to 5K on their own. There should be enough value in there that they could do it on their own. But most people aren't action takers, right? Most people are not going to have the skills, the nuance, or the ability or time or whatever to want to, or to even just the desire to do it on their own. So they should have the ability, though. There should be enough in there that they can do it on their own if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Then the paid is where the results happen, right? So if they want that result faster or easier, then you go into the paid for it. And so at the end of the day, because again, people pay for speed and they pay for ease. They don't really they pay for the results, but also it's, especially when you're in the education space, the results is education, right? And they can get that for free. So what you want to do is say, hey, look, you can get to this result in this free group, but if you want to get there easier and faster, I have this paid membership. The other thing to keep in mind is the membership, I'm assuming, is a low ticket membership. It's probably under $99 a month. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to need a lot of people to sign up to make anything significant. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is there's also something called churn. Are you familiar with what churn is?
Yeah. He talks about it a lot.
Yes. So the average churn for memberships is about 4 to 5 months. So you're going to have to find ways to keep people in, basically increase retention. And so if we think about it, I'll give you an example, right? I have my paid membership, which is $99 a month. That's pretty decent. But my program that I have is $3,000, and they get that membership for 100 days. Someone would have to be in my membership for 30 months for me to make the same amount of money as I do with my one-on-one program. Right? The one-on-one program is so much more valuable to the client. And it does take more of my time, of course, because it's one-on-one with the client. But it's really about five or so sessions, right? Like we did all the sessions together with Erica here. So when we think of it from that perspective, it's how can I make the most with my time? Most people, from my experience, start with a high ticket offer. And that's usually what's advised, because you can get a lot more for your time in the beginning when you're still learning, when you don't really have that much time, when you're, you know what I mean? You don't have really any leverage besides time in the beginning. And so we want to create more leverage. And the way you do that is by having a high ticket offer, because you can make a lot more money for your time and you get really good at it, right? Because you're in the works, like you're in the weeds working with these people.
Mhm.
So you get really good, you fine tune an amazing program, then you open up a membership that you can start to funnel people into. And that's kind of like the low ticket downsell that you might have, right? And now you've got a really good sustainable business, because now you're getting a lot of money up front for those, and you're slowly building the membership, because memberships take time to build, right? A lot of people that I've known, they went for really high ticket first, made a bunch of money, and then they stopped doing it because they didn't want to have to work one-on-one with people all the time. They took everything that they built, because they had an awesome program, turned it into a membership, made it low ticket for people, and at this point, right, they've been doing it for a year, maybe 2 years. They have a huge audience because they've spent that time building their audience. And then they present the low ticket to their audience and they have a very successful launch. So that's kind of like the more average progression when it comes to like, building and sustaining a business. And then usually at that point in the future, those memberships could also be different tiers. So maybe there's a lower ticket. Maybe they upsell the people who worked one-on-one with them into a higher ticket, like a mastermind or something that's like a higher ticket membership that they can join. So there might be different tiers to it, right? Maybe they do in-person events. Maybe they create a software program that helps solve the problems that they do in the program, right? Like there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the best strategy is starting off with something high ticket first, building a successful business, building up an audience, building up your repertoire, getting so much experience that you are now a master expert in what you're doing. And then you open up then you basically figure out how to solve that problem in a mass scale, whether it's a membership, a software, a whatever, right? And kudos if you can combine the two. If you can have a membership with a software built into it, that's even better. But that's essentially like the progression that we typically recommend. So that being said, I'm not saying like your idea of like doing the membership or following Stu McLaren is like a bad idea. Like there are plenty of people who have successful memberships. But just to kind of be thinking about like, if my program say is $20 a month or $30 a month or whatever, what's my end goal and how many people do I have to get signing up every single month in order to do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's something I've totally thought about. I mean, I originally started off as a group coaching program, and then I was like, I don't know. I just changed it because I saw Stu's idea, and I was like, wow, a membership seems so much easier. And I don't know. I mean, he's all for, beginners, just go at it, So I'm like, well, why not, But I do know a lot of coaches recommend high ticket first. I do know that a lot of people do that. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's something to look at for sure. And definitely like look at the numbers again. Yeah, something to think about. I think adding the gaming part definitely would help keep people, retained in the membership.
Yeah. What's your offer again?
It's the 2-part membership for first-time stay-at-home moms.
And what's the end result of them joining? What are they trying to get out of it?
So the end result is to basically emotionally and physically prepare for their new life as a stay-at-home mom and their new baby.
Okay. What is... Okay.
So the first part is about being prepared for baby. The second part is about basically like creating a life that you love as being a stay-at-home.
Okay. So it sounds like, I guess it's just helping them figure out like how to balance being a stay-at-home mom with a baby. Is that kind of the angle?
Yes, and it's also about growth and personal development and stuff like that, like creating goals so you're not just stuck at home taking care of baby and not taking care of yourself.
Yeah. So I think what I would say is you have the 3 different niches that sell like for everybody, right? Like, because they tap into human desire. So health, wealth, and relationships.
Yeah.
So you want to come at it from an angle that's sellable, right? Because
Yeah.
I will be honest with you, I think of all the moms I've ever met, there's only been one that I felt like really probably would have been interested in that offer, right? Because the idea of like preparing to stay at home, I'm not sure that's something I wouldn't pay for that. I don't think I know anybody that would pay for that. And so what I would say is like, it's not that it's not helpful. It's not that it's not valuable, but it's how can we position it in a way that makes it sellable, right? So I would say the biggest thing is like figuring out what are moms trying to accomplish by staying home with their kids? What's their desire? Like that desire to stay home? Is it because they're trying to have traditional values? Is it because they want to homeschool their kids, right? Eventually? Is it because they want to have better relationships with their kids and their spouses, right? Are they trying to, like, what's the end goal that they're trying to accomplish by staying home with their kids?
I think like what I put in the second part was more about like creating joy with your kids and your spouse and finding purpose in this new season of being at home and like finding purpose as in like, what are your goals in this season? Like now that you're not, working or whatever you were doing before. So creating goals and making sure that you're still moving forward in life and not just isolated at home.
Okay. So give me 2 examples of what their goals might be.
So goals might be like, oh, maybe I want to start my own business.
Okay.
From staying at home. Like maybe I want to spend time crafting or something. Like maybe I want to cut out time throughout the day crafting or whatever. Like maybe I want to spend more time. Like one of my goals could be I want to make a goal to take my kids to the park once a week or something. Like it could be as simple as that.
Okay. So I think we also have to think about, right? So say, for instance, if my goal is I want to create a business while I'm staying at home, why would I join your group who's saying I'm going to help you hit your goals versus some other group that's saying I can help you teach, I can help you build a business while staying at home as a mom, right? They're probably going to join the more specific one because it's specific to their goal. And therefore it has some credibility that, hey, this person can actually help me do what I want to do, right? The other angle, okay, maybe crafting. That was another one that you had mentioned. Why would they join a group that says, I will help you hit your goals and find joy and passion or whatever, right? Versus joining a crafting group. And this is not, by the way, like I'm giving constructive criticism. I don't want you to like feel bad. Everybody has a shaky offer in the beginning. But it's because like we think of, we want to put all of this together because it's, oh, I know I can provide all of this value, right? Yeah. And that's great. And that's beautiful. The problem is that people don't know that you can provide all that value. And when you're really vague like that, it makes them feel like they don't really know, right? It's confusing. So if I was to come across a group that said, hey, I can help you find joy and passion and hit your goals as a stay-at-home mom, it's like, first of all, do you even know anything about my goals? And how do I know that you can hit them? Because for me as a stay-at-home mom, my goal is I'm trying to homeschool my kids, right? I've got 4 kids. I'm trying to homeschool them, keep them happy and healthy. I'm growing and running a business and I'm trying to lose weight, right? Like those are my personal goals right now.
Yeah.
And so when I look at that, what part of like, those are all very specific things. Are you going to help me with homeschooling them? Do you have curriculum ideas? Are you going to, do you have like exercise routines that I can follow that'll make it easier for me to lose weight? Do you have business things that you can help me grow my business? So like, these are, and I'm definitely not going to pay money for something I don't know if it's going to help me or not. Right.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm saying, I think you have to get really clear on the end result. So the fluffy end results of, having joy, finding peace, solving your goals, it's not specific enough. You have to get very specific about exactly the problem you're solving. And what happens when you do that is you actually attract people who are trying to solve that problem, and you get really good at solving that one problem, right? Because if you think about it, you're competing with all these other people that are solving problems too, right? And so at the end of the day, the people who are going to win are the people who are the loudest. And if you can't pay for a ridiculous amount of advertising, that's not going to be you, right?
Yeah.
Or the people who are the best, right? So if you're really good and you're well known, you're going to crush it. If you're really good and maybe you're not that well known, you'll still crush it. And if you're well known but you're not even that good, you'll crush it for a short term, time period until it gets out that you suck, right? But I think, you got to I would fine tune that offer. Think of exactly what's the end result that stay-at-home moms want by staying at home, and ask questions. A lot of times my idea of what they might want is different than your idea of what they might want, which is different than Sally or Erica or Caroline's ideas of what they want, right? So literally ask questions and just start polling groups of moms. So you can even do that in mine. Go in, make a poll and say, hey, if you're a stay-at-home mom, why did you become a stay-at-home mom? Give them a bunch of options. The last one should say other, and then in parentheses, let us know in the comments, and see what people say. And then you can kind of get an idea of, this is what people are wanting when they stay at home. How can I help them achieve that end result through the process of staying at home, and some sort of a roadmap or formula or something that I can develop that will help them get to that end result. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had a formula. I had a roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
It was about burnout relief is what it was about.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of I added all these things in. It was like a 7-step process of burnout relief, and then you're going through these other things to help you relieve this burnout. And obviously the end result was it was talking about gratitude and your purpose as being a stay-at-home mom.
Mm-hmm.
So
why did we step away from that?
Do it.
Why did you step away from that?
Well, the things I named off were in the steps through setting goals, joyful moments with your kids and your spouse, stuff like that, creating daily routines, and like I said, it was a step-by-step process throughout all that.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of what I was trying to say earlier, but I didn't say the burnout relief.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that makes more sense if I use burnout relief.
Yeah, it is. I think so. Burnout relief is like that's the end result, right? The other things are the processes, setting goals. Nobody goes out saying, hey, I'm going to learn how to set goals for the sake of setting goals, right? So that's a process. But the burnout relief is definitely the end result there. I was going to say we're about done now at 10. And I do have another call I have to hop into, but I will give you this little bit, which is I'm going to connect you with someone in the group because she had a very similar offer and she could not sell it. She had a very hard time. We spent months fine-tuning her messaging, fine-tuning all of these things. And at the end of the day, she decided to pivot her offer because it just wasn't profitable. She had a few clients here and there, but it wasn't, no, moms didn't want to pay for it, right? At the end of the day, they didn't want to pay for it. And so again, it kind of goes back to the 3 things, right? Health, wealth, and relationships. And which one are you actually solving? And so if you can solve one of those problems, people will pay for it. And there are still some things like piano lessons, right? They don't really solve any of those problems, but people pay for it. But moms are not going to spend money on themselves. And it's just a sad truth. I wish they did, right? But they're not going to. So, so she ended up pivoting her offer, and now she helps mompreneurs streamline their businesses in the back end so they can have more time with their kids, right? So it's a similar end result, but a different process. And now she's crushing it.
So she had this exact offer?
It was very, very similar. Yeah, the offer was helping moms have a great relationship with their kids by goal setting routines, like a lot of the same processes. It was basically the same program, with the end result of having good relationships with your kids, and then and having more time with them. And the problem was a lot of the moms she was talking to, they weren't going to pay for it. They identified that they needed it, but they would not pay for it. So that was a big problem that she had. And then so we just repositioned it, which is like, okay, we know we want to help moms have more time with their kids. So let's pick a different demographic. So she chose mompreneurs, and she was like, how can I help mompreneurs have more time with their kids? And so she's learning all the ins and outs of AI automations and things like that to help streamline their businesses so that they have more time with their kids. So, and now she's crushing it. Like now she's selling quite a bit. So sometimes it's the demographic, sometimes it's the offer, right? Sometimes it takes some testing to figure that out. But I just will say, like, we did go down that route. I have seen people that have tried a similar offer and really, really struggled with it. So I think what I would encourage you to do is say, who's the demographic that I want to serve? What is a problem that they have that they're willing to pay for? And how can I solve that problem for them? But anyway, I apologize. I do have to hop off because I'm already 3 minutes late for another call now.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.